Alright family, this is part 1 of Hinduism Exposed. And before I begin, I want to give a shout out to General Atan for this powerful piece of information. Now I'm going to be moving very fast through this lecture, y'all, so try to keep up. So what is Hinduism? Hinduism is the world's oldest religion according to many scholars, with roots and customs dating back more than 4,000 years. With about 900 million followers, Hinduism is the third largest religion behind Christianity and Islam. Now what are the Vedas? A Veda is a collection of poems or hymns composed in archaic Sanskrit by Indo-European speaking peoples who lived in northwest India during the 2nd millennium BCE. So for example, you have Hinduism and the Vedas, Christianity and the Bible, Islam and the Quran. Now who is Brahma? Brahma, also known as Vyasa Mahabharata, is a creator god in Hinduism. He has 4 faces and the creator of the 4 Vedas, one from each one of his mouths. He also created the Veda caste system. Now there are so many different sections of why this religion is garbage, so today we're just going to be focused on the Veda caste system. These are the 4 main categories of Hindu society, y'all, called the Varna, which meant class and color. You have the Brahmins, which were the whiter skinned. They were the priests and the teachers, and they were born at the mouth of Brahma. You have the Kshatriyas. These were the people with the reddish undertone, and they were the warriors and rulers. They were born at the arm of Brahma. Then you have the Vaishyas, the yellow-skinned people. They were the farmers, traders, and merchants, and they were born at the stomach of Brahma. And then you have the Shudras, the black or darker-skinned people. And of course, they were born at the feet of Brahma, and they're the laborers. Now, these were the 4 main categories of the Hindu society, but then you have a 5th that's not even considered to be a part of the god body, the Dalits, the outcasts, the street sweepers, and the latrine cleaners. This system went from high to low, white to black. The highest being white and the lowest being black. Now this is invasions and racism in India. I'm telling you about the Varna system, the apartheid Varna system, and other caste systems. Now right below me it says Sudroids seen as animals. I already discussed how the Sudras and the Dalits were the black people of the society. The Sudroid blacks are repeatedly referred to as animals and never treated as humans in the Hindu scriptures. Having killed a cat, an Ishnuman, a blue jay, a frog, a dog, and an iguana, an owl, or a cow, he shall perform the penance for the murder of Sudra. The murder of a Sudra by a Brahmin is equal only to killing a cat or a frog or a cow. Now right here it says a Sudra black is not allowed to participate in any rites of the Aryan Vaishnavite religion. A Brahmin, which is the highest of the Veda caste system, should never be the guru of a Sudra, the black person. Right here it says the Veda is never to be read in the presence of a Sudra, and for him no sacrifice is to be performed. He has no business with solemn rites. Sudra blacks are not even allowed to read the Vedas and are punished by having their tongue cut out if they do so. A Sudra has no right to even listen to the Veda. If he overheard a recitation of the Vedas, molten lac or tin was to be poured into his mouth. I have way more racist scriptures for you, so like for... Alright family, this is part 2 of Hinduism Exposed, Racism in Hinduism. Now in part 1 we discussed Brahma. He was the creator god in Hinduism, and how he created the 4 Vedas, one from each one of his mouths. We discussed the racist caste system and how it was based on color and class in society, and how the Shudras were the blacks, and so were the Dalits. We discussed how black people were seen as animals, and how if a Brahmin, which were the white people, were to kill Sudras, the black people, it would be equal to killing a cat, a frog, or a cow. Whereas Brahmins are classed with gods, Sudras are classed with animals. Sudras weren't allowed to participate in any of the rites of the Aryan Vaishnavite religion, and how they enforced illiteracy on Sudras. Sudra blacks weren't even allowed to read the Vedas, and they would be punished having their tongues cut out if they did so. If a Sudra is overheard reciting the Vedas, molten lac or tin was poured into the mouth. If he repeated recitation of the Vedas, his tongue should be cut, and if he remembered Vedic hymns, his body was to be torn into pieces. This rule was actually enforced is proven by the account of Al-Biruni, who visited India in the 10th century AD. Now you can pause to read this highlighted part. This is just the accounts of Al-Biruni himself going into India in the 10th century. Now right here, hence the caste system did not decrease in severity right from the Aryan invasion in 1500 BC up to the Islamic conquest 1000 AD. That implies a 2500 year period during which the apartheid caste system was in operation, longer than anywhere else in the world. With whatever limb a man of low caste does to hurt a man of the 3 higher castes, even that limb shall be cut off. That is the teaching of Manu. Next verse. He who raises his hand or a stick shall have his hand cut off. He who is in anger and kicks with his foot shall have his foot cut off. Next verse. If a low caste man who tries to place himself on the seat with a man of the higher caste shall be branded on his hip and is banished, or shall cause his buttock to be gashed. Now, your boy Gandhi was in full support of the apartheid and the caste system. Supporting the caste system, he said, "I believe that caste has saved Hinduism from disintegration." He also said to destroy the caste system and adopt the Western European social system means that Hindus must give up their principle of hereditary occupation, which is the soul of the caste system. The hereditary principle is an eternal principle. To change it is to create disorder. Straight out the mouth of Gandhi, y'all. This is a clear hatred for black people. Gandhi himself hated black people. The holy scripture written by the creator God of this religion permitted the abuse of black people. This isn't hate speech, y'all, but this is how my people have been treated throughout history. It's sad, y'all. In the next part, we're going to be discussing the Nazi Aryan Brotherhood and Hindu connection. There go Madame Blavatsky again. So like for part 3, family. Alright, y'all, this is Hinduism Exposed, part 4. And in this part of the series, we're going to be discussing the Greek origins of Hinduism and Sanskrit. Now, what is Sanskrit, y'all? Sanskrit is an ancient Indo-European language of India, in which the Hindu scriptures and classical Indian epic poems are written and from which many northern Indian languages are derived. Now, how old is Sanskrit? The oldest texts date back to around 1500 BC. Now, is Sanskrit an ancient language? The oldest Sanskrit texts we have date back to the 15th century, and the 15th century is around the time we got the Phoenician alphabet, the first alphabet. Both Sanskrit and Phoenician languages were created in the 15th century. Now, any language that contains vowels, consonants, or grammatical text are not ancient. Now, at the top in gold is Egyptian Medu Neter. Now, to my right are the other civilization languages, the Maya, Zapotec, Olmec, Aztec, etc. In the real ancient world, they used ideograms, family. An ideogram or ideograph is a graphic symbol that represents an idea or concept. The first row is the ideograms these civilizations used to describe the snake. Second row is the jaguar. Third row is the hill. Fourth row is the moon. Fifth row is the human deities, etc. Now, the reason why any of these languages haven't been correctly deciphered is because you can't use letters and words to describe this shit. That's like trying to explain to somebody the question mark. You put a question mark on a piece of paper, somebody who's never seen the question mark in their life, they don't know what it means, nothing. You can't add a vowel to a question mark. You can't add a vowel to any of these ideograms. So stay with me. Now, this is the Brahmi writing system of ancient South Asia that appeared a fully developed script in the 3rd century BCE. That's 250 BC. They try to tell you that these things are ancient when they are not ancient, y'all. 250 BC is not ancient. Now, these are just a few common Greek words that were adopted in Sanskrit. Now, the Sanskrit word for ink is mela, which came from the Greek word melon. The Sanskrit word for pen is kalamo. In Greek, it was kalamos. The Sanskrit word for book was putsaka, and in Greek, it was puxenon. They got these words from Greek. So example, family, if I as a Greek go into your household as a Hindu, and you're eating out of a bowl, or you're writing with a pen, how can I give you the word for something that you're already doing? If you were already writing with ink and pen, or reading out of a book, how could I give you the word for it? You would have already had your own words and dialect for the things that you were doing. Now moving on. At the bottom we have the Heliodorus pillar. The Heliodorus pillar is a stone column that was erected around 113 BCE in central India. Now you would think, dang, this thing is built in central India. It must have been built by Indians. Wrong. It was built in Vidisha near modern Bhasangar by Heliodorus, an Indo-Greek ambassador of the Indo-Greek king Antiochus, to the court of the Shunga king Bhagabhadara. Historically, it is one of the earliest known inscriptions related to the Vaishnavism in India. Now, like for part 5, family. Alright, y'all, this is part 5 of Hinduism Exposed. And before I begin, I want to give a shout out to General I-10 for parts 2, 3, 4, and now this part 5. In this part of the series, we're going to be continuing the Greek origins of Hinduism and Sanskrit. Now, I suggest you go watch part 4 before you continue on with this video. The last thing we discussed was the Heliodorus pillar and how it was built in India by Greeks when they invaded. Hinduism was founded by Greek nomadic invaders in the 2nd to 8th century AD. When the Greeks invaded, they helped to influence and create a racist caste system, putting themselves at the top as Aryan and blacks at the bottom as slaves. I discussed the racist caste system in part 1 and 2. If you don't know what the caste system already is, you can go watch part 1 and 2 on my page. Now, the Indo-Greek kingdom, or Greco-Indian kingdom, also known historically as the Yavana kingdom, was a Hellenistic era Greek kingdom covering various parts of Afghanistan and the northwestern regions of the Indian subcontinent. This kingdom was in existence from 200 BC to 1 BC. During its existence, the kingdom was ruled over by 30 successive kings. It was often referred to simply as Menander. despite the fact that there was indeed another Indo-Greek king known as Menander II. Menander I's capital was at Sagala in the Punjab. Now this was the Indo-Greek kingdom. This is where the Indo-Greeks invaded, and this whole landmass right here is India, y'all. So now this is Agathocles of Bactria. Agathocles I Decaeus was a Greco-Bactrian Indo-Greek king who reigned between 190 and 180 BC, likely of the dynasty of Diodotus I due to his commemoration of Antiochus Nicator. Now this was the Agathocles coin. On the front was Agathocles, and on the back was Krishna. And these coins have Greek and Sanskrit on them. What is a Hindu god doing on the back of a Greek coin, y'all? Now here are more Greek coins. This is the Hindu goddess Lakshmi of wealth and good fortune on the back of a Greek coin, y'all. Now here you have another Greek coin. You got the Greek on the front, and on the back you have Sanskrit. What is Sanskrit doing on a coin in Greece? We're gonna keep it moving. Now these coins are important to how the Brahmi script was deciphered. James Prinsep is best remembered for deciphering the Kharosthi and the Brahmi scripts of ancient India. He studied, documented, and illustrated many aspects of numismatics, metallurgy, meteorology, apart from pursuing his career in India as an essay master at the Mint in Benares. Now, James worked alongside Alexander Cunningham, who helped him decipher the Brahmi script. Now, Cunningham, who was inspired by the French explorers in Egypt, aka Jean-Francois Champollion, the Egyptologist. I have a two-part series on the racist German-French Egyptologists on my page. But back to Cunningham. He had excavated the bases of pillars, discovered large stashes of Bactrian and Roman coins. They used the Greek and Sanskrit words on the back of these coins to decipher the Brahmi script, y'all. Now, like for part 6, family, we're going to be discussing how the Hindus got their gods from the Greek pantheon. Alright, y'all, this is Hinduism Exposed, part 6. And in this part of the video series, we're going to be discussing how the Greek pantheon influenced the creation of the Hindu gods. And before I start, I want to give a shout out to General I-10 for this powerful piece of information. This is a long series, y'all, so I suggest you go watch part 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 before you continue with this video. First, we're going to start with Zeus and Indra. Zeus is the king of the Greek gods. Indra is the king of the Hindu gods. They both have power over the weather, and they're both using lightning bolts as weapons. Zeus has a wife, Hera, and he was unfaithful to her. Indra has a wife, Indrani. He was unfaithful to her. Zeus lives on Mount Olympus. Indra lives on Mount Meru. Next up, we have Hermes and Narada. Both were talented in music, and both were considered messengers. Hermes invented the lyra, and Narada invented the veena. Next up is Apollo and Sardia. Apollo is supposed to drive the sun across the sky in his chariot of 4 horses. Sardia is considered the sun who was driven across the sky on her 7 horses, representing the rainbow. You can see the red sun behind Apollo, and you can see the red sun behind Sardia. Next up is Athena and Saraswati. Both were goddesses of wisdom, learning, and literature. Both were born fully grown adults by the head gods of their religion. I will say, Athena was also a god of battle strategy, and Saraswati wasn't. Next up, we have Hades and Yamraj. Both are associated with death in the afterlife as lords of the underworld. Hades is the master of Cerberus who guards the entrance to the underworld. Yamraj is the master of Shavara, which is one of the 2 4-eyed dogs whom guarded the underworld. Here you have Hades at the top and Yamraj at the bottom with his bull and his 2 other dogs. Now Hades is referred to as Pluto in Roman culture. In Hindu culture, the planet Pluto is called Yama. Yamraj. Next up we have Poseidon and Varuna. Both are gods of the ocean and protectors of aquatic creatures. Poseidon is shown driven by a chariot of seahorses. Varuna is shown in a chariot driven by either swans or crocodiles. Varuna was also considered to be a god of the sky as well, but is always depicted in water. In Hinduism, the planet Neptune is called Varuna. Next up, we have Hephaestus and Vishwakarma. Both were gods of craftsmanship. Hephaestus made weapons for the gods of Olympus. Vishwakarma crafted the thunderbolt for Indra and also crafted chariots for the gods. We 8 gods in, y'all. Coincidence? I think not. Next, we have Hercules and Krishna. Both were attempted to be killed by snakes as children. Hera sent the 2 snakes to kill baby Hercules, and Kalia sent a poisonous snake to kill Krishna. Both of them defeated the snakes. Next, we have Ares and Kartika. Both were gods of war and fighting. Kronos and Rishi Kashyapa both gave birth to the good and evil gods of their cultures. Kronos birthed the Olympians and the Titans. Kashyapa birthed the Devas and the Asuras. Eros and Kamadeva, both are child gods who represented sexual love and eroticism. I'm running out of time, so like for part 7, y'all.